troubling things that you've told us.
It's gonna sound like I'm attacking religion, which I'm not really, but somebody else is. But I'm going to repeat it. It comes down to this difference. What's the difference between a religion and a cult? Well, it was once said that in a cult, there is always someone at or near the top that knows it's a scam. In a religion, that person is dead. It's worth thinking about.
It can also be said that, though, in a cult, the person who may be at the top may be deluded enough to believe that their psychotic manic episodes are actually real and they are leading people towards some kind of salvation or mass suicide.
Yeah, I mean, can you come to believe your own bullshit? Yes, all too easily. That's a lot of what happens. I think a lot of history is just that. But although there's usually someone, I'm going to take a particular group here. Have either one of you seen a documentary called Wild Wild Country?
Of course.
Amazing, yeah.
It was my Halloween costume that year, of course.
Well, if you look at that particular group, you've got the Bhagwan Osho.
Yeah.
I don't think you can. It's pretty clear who's actually the person who knows the whole thing is a scam. That is Sheila.
Sheila,
the second in command. She's running the whole thing. I mean, this is a guy who controls people by not talking to them. I mean, this is. I've apparently just got
like
bored of what I'm talking
parents.
about, and I'm not going to go on. But you can see why I find this fascinating. I mean, I'm going to move to a small place in Oregon and wear orange clothes and give all of my money to this guy who doesn't talk to me, and I'm going to be happy about that.
First of all, his work and his writing is still circulating around the world. Mm-hmm. There are libraries and organizations globally. In almost every country that are teaching his philosophy, and people swear by there being some nature of enlightenment in his poetry and his writing. And so potentially there's a message in there that was eventually corrupted by the cult and the organization that led people to be drawn to him.
Probably. Maybe. Kind of. How many more qualifying terms you want to throw? That's one possibility, or it was all BS in the beginning, and then people just rationalize the BS, and, nobody likes to. By the way, the couple I mentioned who had given all their money to the guy who bought a yacht with it did eventually fall out with the group. It did eventually come to the conclusion that they had perhaps been misled. Of course, it was all the fault of other people who took advantage of them. It wasn't just because they were being stupid.
What Steve Husson talks about is that President Trump is actually a perfect example of a cult mentality surrounding a figure that has been given a disproportionate amount of power. And it's a little bit like the emperor wears no clothes, like there's certain aspects of it that no matter who you voted for or what you believe in, there's certain aspects of this that it feels a little bit like we're living in a parallel universe. Like you can't just make up words and use them, but apparently you can, This is the president of the United States. He is using a vocabulary of words that is so tiny, and everyone's like, he is a brilliant orator. Like, what is happening? That to me feels like a cult mentality, meaning I'm willing to say we have a flawed leader, or we have a leader who chooses to speak in a way that my children are not allowed to speak at my dinner table. But for everyone to sort of be like, he's this magical, mystical creature, and like, we are saved, and he's the next coming of Christ, right? Like that feels like something has been swept up that just doesn't feel anything relating to normal.
It's not. Well, I mean, I don't want to get too partisan this, but
no,
there was someone I was talking to long ago who was going to this whole thing about that Donald Trump was simply playing. I think they put it. He was playing, five-dimensional chess. Okay, I thought the fourth dimension was enough, but somehow he was and that the reason why what he was saying didn't seem to make any sense was because basically I and other people were just too really stupid to understand this because he's playing at such a higher level that you can't comprehend it.
No.
Well, either that or my counter to it was, is that it makes absolutely no sense at all, and you're trying to explain nonsense. You're trying to take nonsense and turn it into
That's right.
sense.
If my grandmother had wheels, she'd be a cart.
Yeah. So
Scott Galloway says he's eating the chess pieces.
the thing is that we humans, and I'm including myself in this because, I'm one of them. We do this stuff all the time, and we've always done it. And it is it's just part of our habit. We give all of our stuff away to some guy who goes and buys a yacht with it. Okay. And then later we kind of wonder, well, how did that happen? Okay. Who did something to me that would happen? I think we expect more out of ourselves than we actually tend to get. I think it was Winston Churchill. Okay, because Churchill had something to say about everything, so why not? Who said that he came to his estimate of people was that everybody's a little mad about something. He didn't mean angry. He meant that they were crazy. And this, I tried this out in an experiment, is that, this is the thing with people. Most people, most of the time, polite and friendly. I mean, you go into do a transaction, you go buy food, we're doing, and your general exchange is polite and friendly, because that's the easiest way for these things. And they seem normal. Most people, when you meet them, seem pretty normal. It's the roommate test. Perhaps this has happened to you. You decide you're going to live in this abode with this person, and initially they seem to be normal.
You're describing me and Jonathan.
After a certain period of time, you realize that you're living with a crazy person. Okay. And most people are like that. I mean, you marry them sometime. They're normal for the most part. But then at some level, there's some point, people are nice and reasonable and sane until suddenly not.
You bring up pomegranate juice brands and they lose their mind.
Yeah, it's just something that they're going to go off on. So yeah, I think that most people, I won't say everyone, but I think that most people, present company accepted, certainly, are on some level insane about something. That at a certain point, they will just lose all rationality, just go nuts about it. And for the most part, it's a measure of not whether people are insane or sane, but just how insane you are, how widespread that has been. And that's just this way of having some sort of skewed sense of reality. And but that's the world we live in. And that's what kind of makes scary, also makes interesting until it kills you.
And on that note, we say thank you for joining us.
I mean, my takeaway here is find the people who are crazy about the things that you're crazy about in a similar way that you're crazy, and hopefully there's some symmetry there.
Yes. Yeah. Seek like-minded people who share your brand of insanity, swear each other to secrecy, and then take over the world for the greater benefit of everyone. There you go.
Thank you, Dr. Spence. It's really a pleasure talking to you.
Thank you. Pleasure talking to you as well.
Truth is very complicated, and what I found very comforting is that you are on the front lines investigating what is true, what is not true, watching every pig on the internet to make sure that they can jump on a trampoline or not, identifying what is fake news and what is real.
You know what?
And I'm comforted by the fact that you're out there doing that work.
I'm patrolling. And I also like a lot of crazy, weird things, like visually. I like animals who shouldn't be friends being friends. But I feel like the era of trusting amazing thing, it's over. My mother once sent me and both my kids a picture of an insect that looked like a lotus flower, and picture the most beautiful lotus flower of your psychedelic dreams. It was that with legs and a face. And she was like, can you believe God made this? And we were all like, absolutely not.
The internet made it.
But what if it's not that easy to tell? And no joke about the pig on the trampoline. I came at it with a critical eye. The only reason I know that it's not real is because I decided that it wasn't real. Everything else looked 100% accurate. 6 months ago, when I was looking at some of those AI things and it was like, I have 7 fingers, I was like, I know that's not real. They fixed that. Everybody's fingers look fine. It's all a mess.
I was with the video until you told me there was a chicken on the pig's back. That might have given it away. What about the fact that the video that was uploaded by Trump about the med beds and everyone gets a med bed card, and it was like a Fox News segment where everyone is going to be regenerated by this amazing technology that can regrow limbs? Had you not included the regrow limbs part,
Maybe it can happen. We studied some crazy shit in grad school.
there's just this bed and it has all this technology that can help repair your illness. Like, that's almost believable.
What I really liked about talking to Dr. Spence, was how much overlap there is between conversations about secrecy, deception, lies, and really kind of like intention, right? And that seemed to be what is the most elusive. And I kept wanting him to answer. I want to know, like, the Freemasons wanted to kill all the indigenous people and, have world domination or take over England, or the Illuminati wanted to, I don't know enough. My kids are always like, it's the Illuminati. But once he described the Illuminati, yeah, it's an elitist, intellectual kind of overlord sort of secret society, right? I want to know what they want to do. But it seems that what we need to sort of come away from this with, and it's a much larger conversation than we could even get to with Dr. Spence, is that through all of history, and we talked about this with Brian Murarescu, if you want to study the Dionysian, the original secret societies, in many cases were run by women who we would classify as witches, which got co-opted by, I sound like such a mouthpiece, the patriarchal religious organizations that started taking over. These things left the organic spaces and became the domain of what male society in many cases determined. If you think about how the women's health care used to be the purview of other women and of midwives, right? It got taken over. I mean, to me, this is part of what these societies, I don't mean to sound so paranoid, but that's part of what these societies are. And I didn't want to start fighting with Dr. Spence, but I think it should be underlined that this is a dude thing. This is something that men like to do. I think of what are the men's therapy groups? They're drumming at the moon, and maybe it's great. I know there's beautiful wounded